Before we get started with the policy presentations, we will be having a keynote speaker. Tyren epitomizes dedication and leadership at the University of Mississippi. He is currently pursuing a double major in public policy leadership and rhetoric, coupled with a minor in community engaged leadership. He is a respected member of organizations like the Associated Student Body and the Black Student Union. Tyren's commitment to fostering equity and inclusivity is palpable. Beyond his academic and extracurricular engagements, he is the visionary founder of Change Agency Solutions, a groundbreaking consulting company focused on guiding younger individuals through the intricate transition from secondary to post-secondary education. Through personalized support in college applications, scholarship searches, and academic planning, Tyren ensures that every student receives the tailored assistance that they need to thrive. He is driven by a profound desire to effect positive change, and Tyren's leadership transcends campus boundaries. He envisions a world where communities resonate with love and serve as the bastions of progress. With a steadfast focus on advocating for marginalized groups, Tyren champions their causes, striving to cultivate a society where everyone is acknowledged and esteemed for their inherent worth. Tyren stands as a beacon of transformation dedicated to constructing a more inclusive and equitable society, one impactful step at a time. So everyone, please give a round of applause for Tyren Boyd.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, it's nice to see so many new faces in the room from last year. Great to be here once again to some of the change. Some of the change making work that we do. I'm grateful for the youth panelists to be here because what we are doing, it may seem like it has no impact, no immediate impact that is, but it does, and we all are here for a purpose, and let you know that you all are doing the work that needs to be done. So, without further ado, a seat at the table. I think when I was thinking about what I wanted to present on, I was like, you know what, I think this would be the perfect opportunity because so often we talk about young people being having a seat at the table, yet they're not given the opportunity to be at the table. And when they are there, no one is really listening to them. So I got to thinking, what can we do to ensure young people actually have a seat at the table, a meaningful seat at the table, and be able to have some type of impact and say so in the policies that affect us every day. So often policies are put in place, yet young people are nowhere in the scene, and I have an issue with that. So you already heard about me, so I won't insult your intelligence by reading this, but just a little background about me. Of course, I'm passionate about mental health, social justice, sexual and reproductive health, and I embrace growth as a catalyst for positive change. We need more people in the world that is committed to changing the world. And though I can't change it by myself, I will do everything in my power to change that I can be able to do. All right, youth perspectives, they matter. They matter. Youth bring unique viewpoints and fresh ideas to the table. Inclusion of youth, representation, diverse representation in decision-making bodies, empowerment and engagement. It fosters civic engagement and encourages lifelong participation in the democratic process. When you are giving young people when you are giving it sounds better too. When you are giving people the opportunity to actually be in when you are making these bills and talking to the legislators and the policymakers, young people feel heard, they feel valued, and they'll use their connections and their powers to tell their friends, hey, your vote matters. I was at the table. I've advocated for this. We can do this now because I had a say-so in what went on. That's what we need more. Youth should have had a voice. Affirmative action. This was something that kind of hit home when I heard about this because it just didn't seem right to me. You know, you have a body that said that we're going to take away affirmative action. We take it away, but who is that affecting? Minority individuals.
Who cares? Seems like no one. Youth should have had a say-so in what was said when it came time for affirmative action, because it affects us. You know, so often we are hit at the bottom of the barrel. We don't matter, and this is why, because we have no say-so. They're doing everything they can to kind of strip us of our powers, and we have to do everything we can to stay together and stick together. Tennessee House Bill, now this just came out, Tennessee House Bill 1202 and Senate Bill 1321. It approved teachers to carry concealed weapons in the classrooms. No students or administrators had a say-so in how this played out, yet this was enacted. Again, I have an issue with this, and I don't mean to be mad or anything, but I have an issue with this. What if they're in the classroom, there happens to be a fight break out, a teacher had to go in and stop a fight, and the gun happens to go off? And then who's hurt? The young people. But yet the young people had no say-so when it was coming time to voting for this bill, and it went to the governor's desk to be signed. Again, an issue. Building a bridge together. How can we build a better future together for young people? Empowerment through education. And I apologize for that. I know people on Zoom probably can, but I'm not sure about the ones in the back, but I'll read it for you all. No worries. Empowerment through education. We need to invest in education systems that empower young people with the knowledge and the skills and the confidence to participate effectively in decision making. Promote civic engagement and in leadership development programs both in schools and within communities. I'm from Indianola, Mississippi. You probably never heard of this. This is a town in Mississippi, very small, Mississippi Delta, and we have a very issue of scarcity here. It's not a lot of opportunities. So when the opportunities present themselves to be involved, to do different things, I typically jump on it. Because so many people are afraid, young people are afraid, because we have a town we've had legislative bodies and people who are rather older than us, and they won't move out of the places, so they're stuck in their ways, as I like to say it. So when they have opportunities, Tyren, we need you to do this, I jump on it. Because I feel as though if I can't do it or won't do it, then who will? And I often like to tell myself I'm the voice for the voiceless. People who feel like they have no voice, they have no say, so that what they say doesn't matter. And sometimes you can feel like that and you can get discouraged easily. But then I have to remember, what is my end goal? What am I trying to accomplish? And then I think about, I need to get more young people to the table. Bringing young people, make sure that they matter to the table. Creating inclusive spaces, establishing platforms and spaces where young people feel welcome and valued, whether that's youth councils, advisory boards, or forums where they can contribute to the ideas, perspectives, and concerns that affect them. In any institution, organization that has anything dealing with young people, it needs to be some type of advisory board. You need to hear what young people have to say. So often we can think, and that's the key word here, we can think that we are helping, yet in turn we are doing the complete opposite. We're hurting, but we won't know that because we're not willing to ask the very pressing question to the young people. There's one quick question you can ask. What do you need? It sounds simple, but it has so much impact. What do you need? What can we do to ensure that your future is brighter? What can we do to improve your experience in life? And see, these are the simple questions that needs to be asked, yet they're just swept under the rug. We don't say we think they need this, and then we just keep going. Support youth representation. We need people who are willing to advocate for our policies and practices that ensure adequate representation of young people in the decision-making bodies in all levels of governments, including local, national, and international institutions. This can include implementing quotas or affirmative action measures to ensure youth representation. And listening and validating youth voices. Again, so often you give young people the spot as a formality because you want to be able to say that you had young people, yet you are not actively listening to them. You're saying one thing, but you're doing another. You may have me in here about sexual reproductive health, and I'm telling you that we need a better sexual reproductive health policy within the state of Mississippi, yet you still do what you want to do. Because you feel as though that's best for your generation. Yet when you don't have young and youth and youth blood running through these bills, then we are left with the negative impacts of it. And yet it seems as if no one cares. And I have a problem with it. Y'all hear that a few more times. Challenges faced by youth, and these are just some of the challenges that I feel like are one of the 3 pressing challenges. Mental health, such as depression and anxiety and stress, are very prevalent among young people today. And it's often exacerbated by academic pressure right now. Social media, pure relationships, family dynamics, and societal expectations. Young people are put on a spectrum, a pedestal, and we are supposed to live up to a certain expectation in life. And sometimes when people don't understand it, that hurts us more than it helps us. Because now we're pressed. We're trying to do everything we can to make sure we have all A's, make sure we have the perfect 4.0 average, to make sure we're making sure our friends are good. Yet we are left drained, sick, depressed. And we feel as if we have no one to talk to. Social inclusion and discrimination based on factors such as race, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, disability, or socioeconomic status can lead to social exclusion, marginalization, and disparities in access to resources and opportunities, poverty and economic inequality, disproportionately affecting young people, limiting their access to basic necessity, educational opportunity, healthcare services, and economic mobility. These 3 issues are all prevalent. These 3 issues should have some type of advisory council in every state, on the local, on the state level, and on the national level, because these are issues that affect young people. I recently had the opportunity, maybe 2 years ago, and I know Trace for sure is familiar with this. I worked with Active Minds, where they actually had us on a forum for a week-long advisory, where we had the opportunity to talk to different policy makers and advocates in the mental health environment. It was great. That was from once I felt as if these people are here to help us. It's not just a formality. They're doing some work that should be done. Now I want to go through, y'all, the slide was trying to get it, he didn't want to move for us. Now I want to just go through a few examples of some youth-led initiatives that I have had the opportunity to be a part of, and organizations that are ensuring that young people to have a seat at the table. So, the Mobilizing Youth Summit is hosted by Teen Health Mississippi, which is a nonprofit that ensures that young people across the state of Mississippi have the sexual and reproductive health education, as well as the contraceptive options. However, we like to delve into a lot of other things dealing with young people. We don't just like to limit ourselves or put ourselves in a box. The Mobilizing Youth Summit is something that is hosted annually in the month of June. And we pretty much talk about topics: policy, advocacy, leadership, community engagement. And we like to bring young people from Mississippi, Alabama, Arkansas, Tennessee together in a space where we all can feel validated and heard. And y'all, when I say that young people have the opportunity to be involved in this space and they actually have to say so, they do. And I'm not speaking because of what I heard, I know because I was there. As of now, I'm serving on the advisory council for 1 more year to ensure that young people are heard, to ensure that we have the voice, we have the vote. This entire organization, all the speakers are young people, people who have been change-making work within their local communities. We're bringing people together so we can talk about the pressing issues, because what I like to say is there are power in numbers, and when we all have one collective goal to improve the outcomes for young people, we can make change happen. I don't care if you're from Mississippi, I don't care if you're from Salt Lake City, Utah. If we are in one space, we can make things happen. The Mississippi Youth Council, this is also another org under the Teen Health umbrella. This was an opportunity that we were given to actually have an advisory council to talk about the sexual and reproductive health curriculum. We advocated for House bills to include ensuring that there's some type of statistics involved when you're talking about sexual and reproductive health. Although that failed because the people in Mississippi said that they only need to talk about abstinence only, abstinence plus, as if the STI rates in the state of Mississippi aren't the highest in the nation, but okay. What we did was we were able to accomplish the of the significant milestone securing a pivotal role as a liaison with the Mississippi Youth Mental Health and the Early Intervention Task Force. Y'all, I'm so elated about this because this was just passed, Senate Bill 2727. This was done through concerted efforts involving calling, emailing, and face-to-face dialogue and lobbying at the Capitol in Jackson, Mississippi, which is our state capital. We got this passed, and when I was looking at the BU, at first I was like, you know what, y'all, I was talking to some of my members, I was like, this doesn't, it say youth, but I don't see any young people serving. And I have an issue with that. So we called, we advocated, and before the bill was signed, it was amended. And we got a phone call, and it was like, hey, we just want to let you know that we're going to get someone from the Mississippi Youth Council when this is signed by the governor to serve on this committee. Because you are right, young people do deserve a voice. They do deserve it though, because this does affect you. It does say youth. We want to ensure that youth are represented in the best way. And what better way to do than to ensure that you all have a seat at the table? And all I can do is say wow. Because for once, through all these concerted efforts, you can make 1,000 calls. That will take one to make your day. And this was something that made our day because we have been doing this a long time, 2 or 3 years. And nothing, we would keep getting no's. This is not going to happen. And it took this one yes to know that, okay, what we are doing are impactful. We are doing what we are supposed to do because we are improving lives. Again, one day and one step at a time. Break the stigma GHS. This was an opportunity that I was given. I was given a $5,000 grant to do a event in my school, which is a marginalized community. And I was able to plan this event, and the break the stigma comes from breaking the stigma around mental health illness. So often in the African American community, mental health is a very taboo topic. We feel as though, you go to church and you go in your room and pray, and that's all you need. And although I'm not knocking it because I'm a Christian by heart, it takes more than that. There are professionals out here who have been called to do this work, and they deserve to help. So I was like, you know what? Most people here may not have the transportation or the resources and access. So what can I do as a young person to ensure that I'm reaching other young people and bringing the resources to them? So I got to thinking, and I was like, you know what? I know exactly what I'm going to do. My first thing I did was I came up with the idea. The second thing just brought maybe 4 or 5 young people, and I said, you all are going to serve on my youth advisory council. And I asked, I'm going to tell you this time. And the reason why you're going to do this because we want to do something for the school. So I got some change agents and some change makers together. I hired them as part of my staff because we all need a little coin. So if I'm able to put money in my young people's pocket, I'm more than happy to do that by the grace. So we was able to do this. I was able to serve over 500 kids, I was elated to do that. We had resources not only about mental health, but sexual and reproductive health, jobs, because you got a lot of people maybe graduating and may not have the resources. So I wanted to bring people in a space where they can actually learn and be engaged in this work. And the people that were coming up talking to me like, Tyren, you need this. Tyren, you don't know how much this meant to me. And it made me feel, I was like, you know what? I don't need the accolades. I said, before you to come up and tell me this, I'm grateful. Because, it takes a lot of work in planning ED. Especially when you get, again, a lot of no's more than yeses. So I was able to do this, and I was grateful for the opportunity to serve the young people in the Mississippi Delta. Overcoming barriers to youth inclusion. I'm sure you've seen this before. Creating safe space, and I included this twice because this is more than important. We need to establish safe and inclusive spaces where young people feel comfortable expressing their opinions and ideas without the fear of judgment or discrimination, encouraging open dialogue, and actively listening to ensure all voices are heard and they are represented, providing mentorship and guidance. As young people, we need people that are willing to hand us this torch. Because, everybody has an expiration date, unfortunately, but, that's the truth. So, when you have to understand when your time is up, it's time to pass that torch down. And so often we run into hiccups because we have people who are stagnant and complacent within their roles, and they don't want to hear from younger people, which in turn, again, we heard from this. They don't want to mentor. So often I've reached out to people that was like, okay, I'm going to get back to you when I have a moment or I don't have time for this. And it's not that you didn't have time, it's just because you didn't want to have time and you look at young people as a threat. And you know, and we have that, unfortunately, some people where they don't want to help us, they'd rather just hurt us. But you know, that's society. Offering training and skill development, workshops and seminars and skill building sessions to equip young and youth people with the knowledge, the skills, and the tools that they effectively need to participate in the decision-making process, focusing on areas such as communication, critical thinking, and advocacy. We need leadership development, professional development. Just as if you're in your job, I know I have educators in my family, so if you're teaching, they often see you to professional development in the summer to honing in your skills. We need that too. Just going to school 8 through 3 o'clock every day, that was me anyway. Going to grade school 8 to 3 every day, not getting really no leadership development. So I had to go out and travel 2 hours down the road to have a space where I can be a leader and be in a spot where we are heard and validated. So we need more people who say, you know what, we need to offer this for young people. All young people, we have some young people in this room, for example, who actually care. So often we look at it as a joke, but we're not. We are very serious about changing this work. We may be few in numbers, but we are powerful. Recommendations. I'm a public policy major, so I believe in recommendations. Recommendations for decision makers. We need to establish youth advisory boards, creating formal youth advisory boards or council within the government, agency, organizations, or community groups. The boards can provide valuable input and feedback on policies and the programs and initiatives that directly affect young people. Allocating funding, which is always a big thing, for youth-led initiatives and resources specifically, for youth-led initiatives, projects, and programs, providing grants, scholarships, or stipends to support youth-led organizations and grassroots initiatives that address pressing issues in their communities. Like when I was given a $5,000 grant, we need more organizations with the funding to be able to give back into the community and say, hey, I want to give you some coins to ensure that you can do this in your community because I know what's going on. How can you be of impact? Which is another thing that we do on the Mobilizing Youth Summit. We call them pitches, where at the very first, when you get to the summit, you can come with your slide deck or just a conversation, and you can tell them, what do you want to do in your community? And then we pick so many young people, depending on the funding, and we give them the funding. They don't get it in their hand and just tell them what we need and we kind of work through it. They get that funding and be able to do something in their community, which is what we're about, improving outcomes for young people, leading by example, fostering the culture of young engagement and participation within your organization or community, showing the commitment to youth inclusion through your actions, policies, and practice, and encouraging others to do the same. We have some people who care about young people, who care about the well-being and the policy that they have. We need you to encourage your friends and your friends' friends to also care about us because this work matters. And to sum up, I'm not someone who wants to stay too long. It is imperative to recognize that young people have a voice, they are present, and they are the future and the fabric of our society. Their voices, perspectives, and experience are invaluable assets that must be embraced and integrated into the decision-making process at all levels. Young people need to be provided with a seat at the table. We acknowledge their agency, empower them to contribute meaningfully to shaping policies and programs, and invest in building a more inclusive, innovative, and sustainable future for everyone. Again, we do deserve a seat at the table. And I have just a slide of questions in case anyone has any questions.
For those online, you can use the Q&A box, and if we have any questions in the room, you can come up and use this mic.
Hi.
Hi, Julie.
Hi. Your presentation was amazing and really powerful. And my question to you is, how do you move past the no's and keep motivated to get that yes?
So your question is, how do I stay motivated within the process? I would say it's a praying game, and it's a game of consistency, and again, knowing what my end goal is, which is to improve outcomes. And though I may receive so many no's and one yes, that one yes will change lives. So I was just saying, staying consistent, knowing what your end goal is, and knowing that the work is meaningful that you are doing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
First of all, thank you so much. I really enjoyed that and appreciated it. Took lots of notes. I'm with the family organization, or I work with family organizations and am a parent. And I would like to know how, as family organizations and from the parent perspective, how we can support youth and make sure that our voice, I think sometimes our voice is often overshadowed to youth, but how can we really support, do you have some experience of how we can support youth-led initiatives as family members?
I would say that's a very good question. I thank you for that. I would say, or as a parent to support youth-led initiatives, a lot of times I know in my community where parents are so busy because they have work and juggling so many things that they don't have the opportunity to really engage in effective conversation with their young person. I would say just listening to understand what is it that my child or children are trying to accomplish. And what do they need? Whether it can be something simple. Do you need me to drive you to the Capitol? Do I need to share your Facebook post? So it's just the little things that adds up to the bigger picture. And just being that supportive, being a supportive parent and a supportive space for your young person to ensure that they feel heard. Because I would like to say it starts at home. It starts at home. Thank you so much.
You.
Hello, my name is James Greenwald. I just have a quick question. So, in my town, we don't really have a lot of youth boards. How do you recommend getting those started? Because you have all these ones that, I don't know if you've created or you've been able to join. I'm just wondering, how could I be more active in getting those created?
Thank you for that question. I would say identify any organizations that may be serving youth, period, in your community if they are in. I know it might, like I said, they're very scarce. But try to identify any organizations that may be serving youth, and then ask them, do you all have an advisory council? What can, as a young person, do to improve this organization since you are serving youth? You know, sometimes you have to go in and be firm in your action. The ask, you need to have a youth council because you are serving youth. I would also recommend going to your local legislators and talking to your supervisor and board of aldermen about how can we get some type of mayor youth council, something started to ensure that you are engaged within the decision-making process. And though the work, it won't be easy, you may be discouraged, but I would encourage you to stay encouraged and know that, remember the end goal, you're trying to improve outcomes for young people. Thank you.
In the chat, it says, I'm Chris, a peer specialist, Radcliffe Communicator in Kentucky. With the rise in illegal narcotics in Kentucky, there has been a steady link in this and severe depression. I have personally witnessed a fatal experience of this. I'm sorry. Is there any way to strengthen and train peers and peer specialists on the science to prevent this outcome?
Oh, great question, great question. I would say there needs to be some people who are passionate about the work and ensuring that this is something that does not continue to be an issue, because so often when you're dealing with things like this, these issues are very exacerbated over time because no one steps in and combats them. I would say talking to people who make again, meeting people where they are. So whether that's going to the high school and bringing someone with a personal lived experience, or bringing a parent who has had a young person suffer, who has been succumbed to this. Having some people, sometimes you have to put things into perspective. So I would just say using what you have and using your resources that are relatively available to you and using them to combat this issue.
That's it. Give another round of applause for Tyren.
Thank you all so much.